If it weren't for this cost, you could not buy a home. There was a time in which if you didn't have X percentage of down payment or these providers were non-existent, you couldn't buy a home or you would have gotten an absolutely absurd interest rate. If it weren't for the mortgage insurers, what would the world look like?
Oh gosh. Well, you know what? I think about the home buyer always because they're so impacted by all of the regulations and framework within our industry. Ultimately, getting into the market sooner is what all first-time home buyers are motivated by. And that's really where the mortgage insurers come into play. That ability to have a lower down payment gets you into the market sooner. And most markets across Canada are experiencing a very high rate of home price appreciation. So the longer you wait, if you had to be forced to save a 20% down payment, that could potentially negatively impact, where you want to buy and what you want to buy. And I think you touched on a really good point too, and that's the interest rate. Insured mortgages typically have a preferred lower interest rate as opposed to an uninsured loan. There's definitely gains to be had from that perspective for the first-time home buyer. I think about the generation who's thinking about home ownership now. I mean, millennials are tapped out at home ownership. I think about the up-and-coming generation. They'll need to get into the market as well at some point too. Home ownership is so ingrained in the Canadian way of life, and it's a fabric of who we are. We have one of the highest home ownership rates in the world. So Canadians want to get into homes as soon as they can. And ultimately, that's really where mortgage insurers give that opportunity to home buyers.